Hi guys again. Today I wanted to share with you a few thoughts on spontaneity and structure. So I think a lot of creative people are kind of free spirited and they just and spontaneous. It's kind of we don't like to be controlled too much. We need space and and kind of freedom to operate, right? The minute we feel we are being pinned down or put in the corner, that's kind of a no-go, and things switch off for us, right? So I think you would agree that that's the way we operate. But spontaneous and creative people, they need structure that grounds them, right? Because otherwise we can just fly and, kind of stay on the cloud. But we need to also ground our ideas. And ideally, we operate within a structure that's flexible enough that enables us to be free and to be creative and to be productive, but that doesn't control us in a sort of micro way, so that it cuts kind of the breath of air. So how do we create that structure for ourselves, or how do we work with people that give us that structure because they're just naturally more structured? So what has worked for me is to have kind of a project manager, who is flexible enough to give space, but puts the order around me, At the beginning, I used to give full freedom for people and say, okay, you just tell me what I need to do and I'll get it done. But at this point, I feel, I still fall off the wagon if that's the case. So by now, I've created my own structure that works for me. And now I can plug people in and say, okay, you please take care of that, please take care of that. And I know that that sort of structure is needed for me so they can create it, but it's the structure that I've created. And that's the structure that gives me the foundation that needs for me to be productive. So I'm consistent what I bring out into the world. Maybe it's not yet perfectly, operating in the way that I would like it. But I see that there is already the light at the end of the tunnel of how with time it will evolve, so that I'm always, bringing new things into the world, and it's well organized in the way I roll them out. So the way it has worked for me is actually not to let go of that power to create structure to somebody else, but rather figure out what would work for me, map it out, what would need to be in place and who I would need to have around me to support me and to enable me to stick to it. But that structure, of course, that structure will be kind of aligned over time, improved, but it's the one that functions with the way I like to function. And that is proving now to work. I'm like 3-4 years now into fully have transformed the way I work, and doing a completely different thing from what I was previously doing with before, which was running a design agency, and now I'm not doing that. So I'm doing other things, and I'm kind of functioning in a very different way. And I want structure that's, flexible, that keeps me consistent, that's portable. That's very important. So I'm not kind of, attached to any location, that I can move around, and that structure is still maintained. Therefore, remote way of working with a lot of people works for me perfectly. And then, you know, once I land or where I'm in the different location, then I can build the community there. But so that's what I wanted to say, like structure, routine, and a way sticking with, you know, having your own wheel that you spin, but it's not sort of, you know, kind of blind-minded. It's actually very well orchestrated, but that it's flexible enough that you can change things, and you can be spontaneous, and you can let ideas come in. But once you ground them, there is a process that then makes things happen. So I would recommend, you know, to strive for that if you want to be productive, if you want to be creative, and if you want to be consistent in how you function. Creative and spontaneous is great, but if it is chaos, you know, nothing gets done. And if it's just sort of free-spirited and I'm there, and, you know, sort of nothing is happening. If that is good for you, great, you know, like I'm actually jealous. Like for me, I need to be productive, I need to create, and otherwise I feel like, you know, I'm not functioning in the way I want to. I'm not playing with the world, you know. There is no exchange. So for me, being productive is super important, and making things happen is super important. But being this sort of creative and free-spirited person that I am, I still need a structure that not only grounds me, but actually gives me the processes I need to take ideas out into the world. And that doesn't lock me in, but actually gives me wings so I can continue, you know, the flight. And continue the flight by not being taken down by the storm, because as we are creative people, we can be like up here one day and in the bottom the other day, right? So we need to learn how to maintain the, you know, certain level of stability in our sort of flight. So that's my message for today. You know, spontaneity is good, but you need to learn how to work with it if you want to be productive, if you want to be producing things. But just saying, oh, I'm a spontaneous creative person, and, you know, that works, great. You know, if that works for you, great. But if you know how, you know, if chaos is good for you, great. I also had, you know, a phase in my life that I was like that until I figured, you know, it doesn't work for me. It's just not fulfilling. Like it's this sort of like, so, you know, if you're ready to take the next step towards getting more structured and getting more productive, yet enabling your creativity to flourish, you need a structure. And you need to create it yourself. You know, relying on other people only to do it for you is not going to work. You know, you need to figure out what would work for you, put in the systems in place that will enable you to be at your best and to focus on what you can do the best. And then all the other elements, you know, are there either done by other people who are perfect for that, or you put in the tools that would enable you to do it. You know, you figure this out. That's also a process. So voila, put in the structure. Let me know how it goes. If you have any questions, post them in the comments below. Yeah, and let the creativity thrive.